Okay, so we're back with another YouTube video. And today I'm going to be folding laundry mid-recording because, you know, this channel's not supposed to be taken as seriously as those documentaries, but it's still supposed to have some content in it that's enjoyable and that gives you something maybe you can use in your basketball perspective. I don't know. Nothing is supposed to be really as serious as a lot of NBA creators think it. It's at the end of the day, we're talking about a game, we're talking about a sport that most people love that are watching it, right? So none of that stuff really should even matter to anyone. It's just like how I'm folding clothes mid recording. That shouldn't matter. Shouldn't bother anyone. Alright? So I made a free agency video. I made multiple of them actually. Wasn't really satisfied with them. Every time I talk about something, I forget a move in the video, and it would either get really long, and I'm doing these in one take, so I'm not writing notes down and stuff like that. Which would, yeah, that would help, but that would defeat the purpose of the style that I initially set out to when I started doing these. I wanted to do minimal editing, even if that means doing no editing, actually. I wanted to make sure my thumbnails look really fun and they look like they're clickable. And I wanted to make sure that everything was right. So we're 1 minute into the recording, so you might be wondering, okay, what are we talking about today? I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about right now. We're going to be talking about an NBA thing that I've been talking about in these videos, but more realistically, I didn't have enough time to actually talk about. I'm going to talk about the KD trade packages. I'm not going to be going into specifics with every single thing, and I'm not going to be talking about how contracts and salaries match up, but I am going to be talking about possible destinations that he could be going to and places where I'm like, they don't have enough capital to really get him. And I will be talking about some other things that I thought would happen, but values have changed. All right. So overall, the league's value on players as a whole has really changed, with the Rudy Gobert move really setting the needle for this offseason in general, with four first-round draft picks being in the deal just to move him. Again, I've made 2 videos. I've basically talked about the logistics from it. I haven't really talked about it from a basketball perspective. I think the move kind of makes sense. I think it could work with him anchoring the defense in the paint, but I'm still hesitant because Cat is still going to be on the floor, and if Cat's not in the paint, right, that means Cat is going to be having to defend the perimeter. So you're going to need better defensive wings, and remember, D'Lo is on this team, so I'm not really sure how adding a good interior defender fixes the perimeter issues that you might have been already having. I'm sure it'll fix the issues that Cat would have had, but it'll also cause some issues because Cat will now likely be on the perimeter against most offenses. But now let's talk about the KD situation. KD has requested a trade. All of you know that by now. I would have fucking talked about it like 2 weeks ago now if I actually was happy with either of the recordings. But I didn't. So let's talk about the logistics of this. The Nets have pretty much made it clear that they are looking for basically a young player and picks, which is good. Also, I've heard recent statements of they're not willing to move Ben Simmons, and I'm assuming that's because his trade value is actually like really, really low. He's coming off an injury. His value wasn't really that high to begin with, and yeah, honestly, Philadelphia moving off of him during the middle of the season was a very great move for them. I mean, the Nets are blowing up. Kyrie's most likely saying he wants to go to the Lakers. The Lakers are desperate to not move first-round picks. Hey, man, at this point, just move the first-round pick. Any chance to have LeBron on a more competitive roster than last year is a success already. Just the marketability of LeBron James would bring money and dollars into your franchise anyway. So I think that should be the most important thing if you're thinking about it from an owner's perspective. If you're thinking about it from a GM's perspective, look. Your job is to win chips. You're not going to win chips with Russ there. And you're not going to win trips with those first round picks, to be quite honest. No matter how terrible you are, it's not going to help you rebuild as fast as you think you are. You've been in a terrible situation for a while. It would be great if you actually were the Lakers of old, or the Lakers that actually used to compete for chips, you know? But let's go back to the KD move. The teams that I can actually see KD getting moved to, and let's be real, these are the only real teams that he can be moved to. The Suns, which is where he prefer to go. The Heat is a possibility. The Raptors are a possibility, and the Nuggets are a possibility. I think the Nuggets are a fringe team. Look, the Pelicans have an interesting package, but I honestly don't think Kevin Durant is going there. Right? Because I don't know. I feel like KD has to play those 4 years out, but I'm not sure. Pelicans is a possibility. I'll acknowledge it, but I'm not going to entertain it. Okay. Damn, these shorts are taking a while. Yeah, so that should be interesting. Let's talk about the team that I listed that I think it's most possible. So, if you're being a petty team, like a lot of teams are when they trade stars, you trade them to the opposite conference. Denver would be a nice place. They pick up some assets, some young players. You are unsure of Michael Porter Jr. You are unsure of a Michael Porter Jr., and that would mean you'd have to move Ben Simmons. So this move is unlikely, but it is a possibility. And if Denver wants to take the chance to swing and get Jokic a superstar, or something as close to a superstar can be without being one, I think this is a move. I don't know. Murray will most likely not be involved in the deal, especially because he's coming off an injury. Michael Porter Jr. is not negotiable. Bones Highland will probably be in the move. Either way, the Nuggets will be fine if they do or don't make this move. So I think this is I just think this is an interesting team to put him on. I think that it would be fun. But more importantly, the Warriors. I didn't say them on the list for a very good reason. I think the basketball sphere as a whole, and Sean Marks included, would absolutely despise if KD went back to the Warriors, and his legacy would be ruined. So honestly, if the Nets really do, Steph is not interested in playing with KD again, but if the Nets really do want to spite KD, they could send him back to Golden State and be like, you need him to win. That'd be crazy. Reverse the narratives, all of that. Yeah, that'd be so funny. Yeah, but that's not gonna happen most likely. The Raptors are an interesting thing. They have a lot of draft capital. They have a lot of young assets. They did earlier. They said that Scottie Barnes wouldn't be in a move if they could get Kevin Durant. But I think that's just, you got a young guy. You don't really want to move off of. Publicly, you're going to say that. You're going to say something like that. You were going to explore the idea, but if you can't get, KD and what you want, really, I think most moves that teams would be making, and this is just so you can have some more salary flexibility, so you can actually add more players in and move stuff around actually instead of just trading for KD and losing stuff. You want Seth Curry alongside the deal. I would love Seth Curry in the deal. Kyrie and KD are about to be broken up, so you're not. Plus, no team really has the position to or the capital to really move them both financially. All right. Okay, so we talked about the Raptors, we talked about the Warriors, talked about the Nuggets, we talked about the Heat. This is the least interesting deal if I'm the Nets. I'm not gonna lie. The Heat don't really have any young players that I'm really interested in. Tyler Hero's fine, but I'm giving up KD. I'm not interested in a Tyler Hero, especially because I'm probably gonna have to take on a Duncan Robinson. Plus, KD got to get into that Heat shape. And I don't know if he's Heat ready, He did list them on the list, but I'm not really sure about that. I think that would be kind of he might get credit for winning with them if he does, but he'd equally get as much shit for them. I think the Heat only do this if they're trying to maximize Jimmy Butler's window for a championship. It really depends on if Bam Adebayo is going to be in the move or not, to be honest. I think that's the most important thing to think about. The Bulls are not a factor. I know I keep adding more and more teams, but hey man. It's my video, it's a casual video. Get over it. the Bulls are not an option, to be quite honest. I don't think the Bulls are an option for a multitude of reasons. They're probably going to have to move Vucevic. I don't think the Nets are interested in Vucevic. Again, Vucevic made the Magic a perennial playoff team somehow. And yes, the East wasn't as good back then, but like that's still not what you want if you're going to blow it up. You need picks. Those picks are not going to be valuable. Somebody's got to be in that move to make the Knicks interested. Oh, Nets. Jesus Christ, I was right the first time. The Nets interested. The Knicks. Oh my God, this is not even a real thought. I don't even know why I brought up the Knicks. I just brought up the Knicks. I said the Knicks earlier. Right? They're not happening. Phoenix. Okay, so Phoenix really, realistically, they have a lot of money wrapped up, and this would be one of the only ways that they can move some money around, still be locked up in a lot of money, and might be approaching the luxury tax. But this would be a great way to get rid of some guys, you know, try and figure it out. But this could easily backfire on them, like just from a publicity standpoint and like stuff like that. No one's gonna be mad at you for trying to win a chip. I'm not gonna be mad at this Phoenix Suns for trying to win a chip. Somebody be mad at KD. No one cares. This team got bounced in the second round. Maybe if you're trying to maximize Chris Paul's potential before he falls off a cliff, because you know he is getting up there in age. And a lot of people expect him to plateau and fall off a cliff a lot earlier. But to that I say, you shouldn't be doing that. I really don't understand why they paid Chris Paul that much money last offseason. I would have given him a contract that was really big in the front, but like that was really big in the front. You know, a front-loaded contract, so it gets lower over time. You know, make it easier, and then have they have a year on there that's non-guaranteed. I'm pretty sure that's the last year, or it might be the last 2 years that are non-guaranteed, but. He's going on to the second year of that deal now, at least I think. The Nets have said something about they're not being interested in this trade without a Devin Booker. And if you're the Suns, no, you don't trade Devin Booker. Even if Devin Booker has some weaknesses in his game, even if all that, he was your franchise guy for so long, he stuck with you for a while, and you've convinced him to stay. I really don't understand why you would do all of that for a guy to trade him for a guy like Kevin Durant, who is. Again, another aging star. You'd probably want to keep your younger star. And the Nets are still looking for... The Nets, they're going to suck. So they can't afford to not have a young star. So and this is not one of those stars you would just want to get rid of. Damn, KD's section is taking up a lot of this video. Let's talk about Kyrie. Kyrie... Look, let's be real. Kyrie is probably going to the Lakers. At this point in time, that's the only move that I can possibly see. He's either going to the Lakers or being trapped on the Nets. And with him being the number one superstar on the Nets, that's not superstar, number one star on the Nets, that might not even make you the playoffs, especially since you gutted the depth that got you to the playoffs when Kyrie was just the guy there. Right? Like, that's just simply not going to work. With Kyrie missing games, stuff like that. Like if you still had the 2018 roster, or more importantly the 2020 or 2019 roster, those years, maybe I could see you pulling off this move. But like no, you don't have your picks. Brooklyn has really shot themselves in the foot for almost nothing. But I've seen a lot of people acting like they wouldn't do this move in a heartbeat. Sure, you found out that maybe KD and Kyrie aren't the guys that you should have been going for. And superstar duos have problems. But you also need to realize this. When you're trying to compete in the NBA, you do need stars. And it's a lot. And a lot of teams are not good at developing stars. A lot of teams are good at finding stars and attracting agents and stuff. Let's not get it twisted. The Nets have never had a star. Outside of Jason Kidd, ever since they moved to... Even if we're just talking about when they moved to Brooklyn. When they gave up being in New Jersey and they went to Brooklyn to be the second worst team in New York at the time, which is kind of crazy. It didn't work, right? They didn't grow any stars. They didn't have any stars. Everybody that's been an all-star there has been what? Like, it's been a couple of guys. I think that Brook Lopez was an all-star once. D'Lo. I'm not counting, obviously, my all-star center, Jared Allen. But like, no. Like, people are acting like they wouldn't have done this move in a heartbeat, and I just find that really weird and odd. Like, you're talking about competing for chips. At least when we went into the move, it made sense. Now the Harden move, I think you did try to appease your star, so that's where I think you shouldn't have done that. Okay, it might have cut a little bit of the recording, but after that, like, I really don't understand what you were supposed to do in that situation without having a KD or Kyrie. If you just had that, remember, to get KD, you basically need to get Kyrie anyway. That, I could see people having an argument for that, right? The Harden thing, I definitely didn't like the move initially. I didn't like the move initially because, well, I mean, you care about it, but like, if you don't want to chip, Harden is not a great player to be stuck with, right? With Harden there, it was going to be extremely hard to retool if it didn't work, right? It was a risky move when it first happened, and honestly, it was no less risky with hindsight either. Kyrie, Harden fizzled out, and you lost them, and you basically lost even more important defensive depth. So you had to take whatever Philly was willing to give you for Harden, because let's be real, Harden only really wanted to go to Philly. It was a tough situation. I really don't know what you could have done better. But saying all of these superstar duos have just failed, and that the superstar duos are not like a thing that's gonna rework or retooled and stuff like that, that's just not true. I do think homegrown superstars will become a little bit more prevalent, but I don't think that will be the determining factor. I just don't. It's really gonna be hard to get superstars on one team without one of them being your guy and one of them being a guy that the other guy attracts over there from a bad situation. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on the KD trade. If you like the video, like the video. If you don't like the video, well then don't like the video. This is the first time I'm gonna tell you don't like the video. But again, if you do dislike the video, just remember that only I will be able to see it, and that will look petty as hell. So if you want to see more content from me, and you want to see other stuff like this, comment in the comment section below what to do better. If it sounds like something that I will actually attempt, then I'll try it. All right. But if it's ridiculous and ludicrous, I'm not doing it. Have a good one. This one will finally be uploaded, hopefully today. And bye.